This is Stardust Racers, and if you're a coaster fan like myself, everyone and your mama is talking about it. It's either raves about how unreal this coaster is, or debates on a certain situation that closed this ride for a bit. Considering this coaster opened this year, it's crazy to believe that there's still a lot of people who haven't ridden it. So of course, influencers are doing influencer things, which is either spamming a lot of reviews or calling it overhyped. So I know by now this is probably the 15th million video on Stardust Racers. However, as for me,
I'm gonna do my own thing,
which is answering the real questions. Is it peak? Everyone can do a review, but by the end of this video, we will find out just how peak Stardust Racers really is. And when all of y'all finally get a chance to experience this ride yourself, this video will hopefully serve as a perfect example of what to expect. So this is If you want to get straight to finding out how the ride experience was, you can back the future to the next segment by going to the timestamp on screen. But for the rest of y'all, you might be new to coasters and need to know what a Stardust Racers is.
The Stardust coaster.
No, Stardust Racers. See, this is why we need context. So let me explain. Located in the legendary city all enthusiasts wish they could live in, Orlando, Florida of the US of A. Surrounded by peak coasters already, like Aranguazi or Velocicoaster, Universal really said, give me more. Deciding to invest almost $6 billion into another theme park set to change the standard for American parks. And to really show the
Universal only does screens
crowd, they proved Velocity wasn't a fluke and opened the one and only Stardust Racers on May 22nd of this year. And real quick, did this coaster become a #1 bucket list for a lot of American enthusiasts, including myself. Now for all my extreme coaster nerds out there, here is all these stats for Stardust Racers so I don't hear any complaints. Designed by German-based manufacturer Mach Rides, this is a dueling coaster containing 2 separate tracks and a total span of 5,000 feet of track per side. The max height it reaches is 133 feet, and the top speed maxed out at 62 miles per hour. It only has one inversion, but they made it count with a unique element Universal dubbed the Celestial Spin, which trust, we'll get to. And if you're an extreme coaster nerd, yes, this counts as 2 separate credits because each track is their own individual circuit. As for the theming and lore, this ride is located in Celestial Park, the main hub of Epic Universe, focused on the cosmos and mist of the stars. The green track is actually named Pulsar, and the yellow dubbed Photon. Both are created by the inhabitants of this land, and fun fact, they couldn't do it alone, as Doc Brown, yes, the Doc Brown, from Back to the Future, teleported here and helped them design the ride, which is why, if you notice on the back seat, there's a flux capacitor attached. Universal making my goat canon to the park. Great work. The ride also has a special onboard soundtrack that changes depending on time of day. And do I listen to it on Spotify when I'm studying? Yes I do. I think it's safe to say Universal really thought out this coaster and left nothing unfinished. If we're looking at the ride without taking into account its experience, it's already pretty peak. Universal really wanted to show they can do thrill rides. And did they deliver? Yes. At least from the aesthetic aspect. I mean, if a singular coaster is making people switch from Disney to Universal, I think it did a pretty good job. I say the description of this ride is definitely helping its ranking in peakness. However, what really matters is the experience. So why don't we talk about my ride on Stardust Racers? Now, full disclaimer, this is my personal experience. I understand that everyone has their own, and I'm honestly mentioning mine just to justify my ranking. But in the end, your opinion is your opinion, so just putting that out there. But anyways, it was 10:02 a.m. on a sunny June 14th. We had pulled up to the park early to make sure we didn't miss any attractions. Spoiler, we did. But thankfully, Stardust was not one of them, because we hit it first. At this point in time, my top 3 consisted of Velocicoaster, Aranguazi, and Fury 325. All great coasters, and I've heard so many great things about Stardust that this ride was gonna be judged hard. First impression walking in, the theming is really great. That whole Jules Verne aesthetic fits so well. And hot take alert, I believe theming can make a coaster better. Now, I'm not saying theming alone saves a ride. If it's pretty bad, theming won't do nothing. But it can definitely make or break a tough decision between one coaster and another. And so far, this is benefiting Stardust Racers a lot. I mean, 6 station, custom soundtrack, and a ride vehicle that looks like a literal piece of art. You're really getting spoiled at Epic Universe, and I was starting to realize that my life savings were in good hands. Just kidding. Maybe. Fast forward 15 minutes, yes, 15 minutes, we were already boarding. And that's all thanks to a shocking reveal that Stardust runs multiple trains. Yes, I know, grass is green, have comment, but when you're used to Six Flags operations, this is like discovering gold. Like, what do you mean there's a train in the station, a train running, and a train now arriving on each track? A total of 6. How do they not collide? And by the way, that's a rhetorical question. I'm looking at you, comment warriors, chill. But seriously, wow. I chose the green track at this point, and once we got on, them seats were mad comfy. Are we really rating a ride seats, you may ask? Yes we are. Like, forget coaster tier rankings. Let's talk coaster seat rankings. That's the real question right there. And Stardust Racers would probably be number 1, because you have lots of room, the restraints isn't too heavy on you, and it prepares you for a lot of airtime that you're about to experience, which we'll get to. But now it was time to dispatch. The dueling train starts to perfectly line up as you turn around, which yes, I know is a common thing for a dueling coaster, but again, my last dueling coasters were at Magic Mountain, which West Coast Racers does duel every time. However, you have to wait a little bit, and don't even get me started on Twisted Colossus. All I'm gonna say is it's super satisfying to see coasters duel in perfect time. If you know, you know. We enter the tunnel, the seats begin to pulse, the music swells, the smoke rises from the ground, and before you know it, we're rocketing at 62 miles per hour in just 2 seconds. This is not my first launch coaster, and comparing it to Velocity, which I did a few days before, I'd say it wasn't as intense, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. What I mean is, it's 2 different sensations. One is punchy, quick, and unexpected, and the other takes its time to build up, easing into its max speed, but eventually you will feel it. My best analogy for how it's like is if you've seen Star Wars, anytime they travel into hyperspace, you see the lines slowly stretch out, and before you know it, almost like a slingshot, they're transported in a blink of an eye to a new location. Stardust is just like that, slowly speeding up, but you feel the intensity, and in just a few seconds, you're already at the first hill. And that hill comes out of nowhere. Almost feeling like slow motion after a launch like that. The hill does slow down a little, but the intensity does not. Especially if you're sitting in the middle, you get some pretty good airtime. And if you start to float right before the drop, and you're towards the back, you do get hauled. Which in my case, I swear I was off the seat for a while, floating on the way down. Literally like zero gravity. And by the way, during this time, you still have that other train next to you dueling side by side. Just so much going on. You went to that little turnaround, which is still pretty fun and intense, and this is where the tracks kind of diverge into their own directions. Obviously, you both get some bunny hills, and again, that airtime is pretty good, which is expected, especially from Mach. The middle rows do get some pretty good airtime, but surprisingly, in this case, if you're in the front, you definitely feel it a lot more. By the way, I gotta mention how smooth this ride is. It's literally like butter, and if anyone tells you different, they're lying. This element in particular could have been really rough or jerky, and it's not, which is really impressive. Soon, we approach the picture-perfect moment with that flyby. And if you think seeing it is cool, riding it is even cooler. We dove into some mist, which actually sprays you with some water, and you have that brief high five moment with the other train. We come out of that amazing moment, and it's time to level up the thrill. That's right, launch number 2. Apparently, I found this out later, but the coaster specifically recognized which is the slower train on that round. If you're the slower train or in second place, the launch will actually be a lot faster on your side to catch you up or put you in first. And wanna guess which place we were in? Second place, baby. Which means that launch had me glued to my seat, and it definitely felt more powerful than the first time, not gonna lie. By the way, speeding up to beat your opponent, music playing, and smoke rising, it was absolute cinema. And when that moment of the one and only inversion came, it did not disappoint. The celestial spin is legendary. It puts you so close to the other train, I'm not even exaggerating when I say, I swear, if you're a tall dude, you can absolutely high-five a person in the other train. It's that insane. I also highly recommend looking up during that moment, because seeing your dueling mate completely upside down over you, it's like living that one moment in Cars. The celestial spin is proof that you don't need a lot of inversions to be a really good ride. They only had one and they made it count, and it's super iconic. After a pretty rapid fire start, we begin to enter a part I've seen a few people critique, which is the last half. Compared to what you were doing in the beginning, the coaster enters this moment of tranquility, as you majestically glide near your opponent train and cross over like racing comets. Yes, there are bends and turns, but the dueling factor still makes this a lot of fun. And I get it's not as whippy as the beginning, but it's still very necessary, and the energy did not die. In fact, this is a great way to keep it going. For me, it's a fitting finale you have to understand. My favorite film, Ford vs. Ferrari, said it best. There's a point at 7,000 RPM where everything fades. The machine becomes weightless, just disappears, and all that's left is a body moving through space and time. Obviously, this is not a race car, but if you watch that film, you know what I mean. It's a feel-good moment, which not a lot of coasters usually do, and it's either a rush finale or sudden stop. You glide and get some great views of Epic Universe, a few airtime pops here and there, and finally you smoothly hit the brakes. At that moment, I was speechless. The best definition I can give for this ride in one word is light. It just feels light and fun. It's purely enjoyable and doesn't need to become the best in the world. Yet without trying, to some, it will. In that moment, it really had me thinking it's better than Velocity. Like legit. But I had to calm down, take a breather, maybe walk around Celestial Park again, and come back for a second ride, which turned into a third and fourth ride. All of which happened around nighttime and sunset, making the ride even better. The soundtrack switches up at night, changing the vibe, and that last half I mentioned really starts to feel like a comet, as the train lights are the only thing that illuminates the track. After that, again it had me thinking, is this better than Velocity, or is this just recency bias? To be honest, it's something else. And with the ride experience thoroughly examined, it's time to see just how peak Stardust Racers is. Every other coaster YouTuber may place a number ranking or have some sort of system to score the ride, but here we do things a little differently. I mean, for starters, it was too much work to do anyway, but my peak ranking is coming in 4 levels. 1. Rock bottom, as in I would do this ride once and probably that's it. 2. Mid climb, I would do it again, but I need some work. 3. Cliff, a feel good ride that's not a complete 10 but deserves huge credit. And the elusive peak. Peak is rare because it has to be so perfect that you could change nothing about this ride and it would still be good. And if someone were to call it their number 1 coaster, you wouldn't even argue. So, does Stardust Racers place this high? Crazy to say on a first episode, especially because it shouldn't be that easy to achieve peak, but yes. And here's why. I can't generally come up with critiques at all, and it's not recency bias. I rode the coaster a total of 4 times to be sure, and however you feel about Epic Universe as a whole, you can't deny Stardust is an elite addition and an elite attraction. It could totally go neck and neck with Velocity, and in Florida as a whole, you'll probably have a lot of people placing it somewhere in their top 3. Listen y'all, I'm a Texan. I can't just pop up to Florida whenever I want, and just like many of you watching, I was absolutely worried that this coaster may be extremely overhyped on my first time, but I'm telling y'all, every piece of praise this coaster has is completely valid. Smoothness, intense moments, airtime heavy, great theming, and best of all, a core memory. There's nothing like it. And after leaving Epic, it felt like I rode something so rare. A very little amount of coasters can actually reach that point, and Stardust absolutely does. Stardust Racers, you are peak. As we come to a close, this series includes a very important segment that y'all can take part of. Every month we'll be dropping a new episode of Is It Peak, and you can help suggest which ride I should cover next. So leave it in the comments, and the most liked one will be added to the list of episodes. By the way, if you've made it this far, please consider subbing up, as we're on the road to 25,000 subs before the end of 2026. Can it be done sooner? Depends on y'all. Thank y'all for watching, and this is JB Thrills signing out.